Hey, silver tubers, it's Mr. Z coming to you from the actual silver pouring bench. I'm braving the heat this evening and we're going to pour a couple of those new molds. We're going to start with that large tree mold, and then we shall finish up with a coffin mold. I've got the furnace warming up. I've got about 15 ounces of silver in the furnace because I want to make sure I have plenty for this large mold. And I've got the mold heating up like I used to in the separate furnace to make sure that the mold's good and hot. So hopefully it'll take a little additional detail, or at least all of the detail in that mold, because it's a very intricate mold. So I'll be back in just a few minutes and we'll see how she pours. All right, silver tubers, you'll have to excuse the torch noise. I'm not going to yell. Let's start by extracting the mold. It should be good and hot by now. Oh yeah, good and hot. There's the mold, glowing yellow like it should. We'll cover up the torch to maybe quiet it down. There we go. Grab some silver and fill this mold and see what we come out with. I'm a little curious how much it'll hold and what it's going to look like. Alright. Lots of liquid still in that crucible. So I'll go ahead and I'll warm up the next mold. Get a little bit of, just not really going for much on the back of this. I don't want a lot of cooling lines. I want to try and keep it as smooth as possible, and it looks like it came out nice. So I'll go ahead and I'll warm this other mold up. Man, that mold is really holding its heat. It knows how to hold its heat. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the next mold. It shouldn't take near as long to warm up. It's a lot thinner. This next one is the coffin mold. So let's see what this one produced. We're gonna let that cool off. We'll be back. I'm gonna let that cool down to a nice black. Be back. Alright, I think we're warmed up sufficiently with the second mold. So we'll go ahead and pull the mold first. It's probably, oh yeah, it's already glowing red. So, but it's going to cool a lot faster because it doesn't have the thickness that first one has. Hope I have enough silver left in the crucible to fill this one. We shall soon find out. Still feel plenty of weight in this. This is a shallow mold, so don't want to overpour it. And cover this up. And we shall kill the torch, and I will meet you over at the finish bench, so we can have a look at what these came out like. Alright folks, we're at the finish bench. Now mind you, these haven't been tumbled. They're fresh out of the molds. Let's have a look at what we got. First we'll go in the reverse order. So the first is the tombstone. And there's the tombstone. I really dig that pattern. That is the #1 pour out of the tombstone. Throw it in the tumbler, clean that up a little bit, give it a nice stamp right here, and the weight and the date today being the first pour out of that mold. Let's see what the tombstone weighed out at. We'll get this set over to ounces Troy. So the tombstone came out to 4.455 ounces Troy, so almost 4.5 ounces, and it poured nice and right to the top of the edge. It's got a little rough edge around it. I don't mind that so much though. It shows it's hand poured, not machine made. So, but I'm just fascinated by that pattern on the top, that waffle pattern. So, and the large one came out looking like that. That is something else. I'm going to grab a piece of white paper to put it up against so the camera will focus on it. It really has some tremendous detail. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. You have the circular tree at the top with very, now I can see kind of why a lot of people made a comment about the female form in the center of the trunk, and then almost like a dress flowing down, and it's very deep. You can see that it's a high relief. You can see how deep that concave is and how much that center section stands up and the root structure stands up, and that's thick. That is a thick. It's got a slight taper on the top and then it's flat on the sides. And the back came out almost perfectly. There's very faint cooling lines. A little bit of schmutz right here that'll tumble off. And let's see what that weighed out to, because that is a healthy chunk of silver. Switch it over to ounces Troy. That one came out to 9.55, so 9.5 Troy ounces. So that one too will also receive the stamp at the top, the weight and purity at the bottom, and then the date it was poured, being the first pour in the mold. And so if anybody's interested in these, shoot me an email. They are both available. First pours out of the mold. So I appreciate everybody watching. It's actually really nice to be pouring. I can see, I don't know, every mold's a crapshoot, so there's no telling what the next pour out of each of these molds will look like. I know that all the detail in the mold came out in this one for sure, and so I can't promise it'll come out in the next time. So I appreciate everybody watching. Mr. Zeke, actually from the pouring bench. Cheers, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful week.